Hey, what is up, guys? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oak Ridge Ford. I'm Norm, along with Mike. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2020. These are interesting times, not only in London, not only in Buffalo, North America, the Western Hemisphere, but the entire planet. You know what I'm talking about. I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy, and let's get through this thing. Mr. Augello, just wanted to catch up. How are you?
Good morning, Norm. I'm well. Like everywhere else, life has been sort of upended with this COVID-19 outbreak. And like I said, like you said, I'm hopeful everybody out there is fine, and just stay indoors for a couple weeks, and but we will provide something to discuss because there's still news in the hockey world. There's still things going on, and we hope that in the next couple months we'll actually see hockey.
Everything's down right now. Everything's off. Everything has been modified, which makes complete sense and is necessary for us to get back to full tilt at some point in hopefully the near future. But I do know there are OGs and converts out there who require us to podcast, to provide them with information, with content so they can hear it. And the dilemma right now is dealing with things going on in the world around us, immediate and not so immediate, but provide something, a little something extra, a little something nice for the individuals who rely on what we do, Mike. So we're going to podcast probably twice a week in short spurts, just to do a roll call, just to do a check-in. Guys in community or below this post on YouTube, let us know how you're doing. Let us know how you're getting through the day. Is there anything hockey related in your daily itinerary that brings you a little bit of joy besides the Leafs combo? We just want to know. We care about you. You guys are OGs, you're converts. You've been with us through the entire run. We have new listeners too. It's interesting in that social distancing has created a distance among your neighbors and yourself and your friends and your family. But with social media, it's always brought us together, sometimes a little too close. But in this circumstance, it's necessary.
Yeah, it's odd because, I mean, if this situation would have happened 30, 20, 25 years ago, essentially, everybody would be shut-ins with no contact. And I think the sort of cabin fever that even some people right now are having would be 10 times worse if they didn't have some contact with the outside world. I'm in contact with friends who are, living outside of Buffalo, and, even whether it's by video conferencing or on Facebook or whatever, it's just, at least there's contact out there. And just to let everybody, we're interested in finding out how you are, but, we're going to continue to do these, combos. I'm going to continue to do my articles daily on Hockey Buzz. Give us an idea of what you want us to talk about, because there's still a lot to talk about in terms of, what the future lies ahead for the Leafs and for the NHL. So give us an indicator of what you want us to discuss.
How are you getting your hockey fix besides listening to the Leafs Convo? Are you watching Leafs TV if you still have cable, and immersing yourself in the old school games? The Leafs channel plays a lot of old school television because they need programming to run 24/7, and a lot of it is dated video that is in standard definition, but still quite interesting. Are you reading books? Are you going online? Are you watching old hockey fights on YouTube? I'd love to know how you're passing the time and getting your hockey fix.
Can I just vent here for a sec, Norm? Because
sure, go ahead.
NHL Network, in their infinite wisdom, a couple days ago, like when they carry Hockey Central from Sportsnet at noon, and obviously they're not doing video broadcasting anymore, so they're just doing audio. So they're just playing old games, and they had a game scheduled on their schedule that obviously was postponed. So in place of that, the first game that I see on NHL Network, in place of,
don't say it.
Yeah,
don't
Game 7 Game 7, 2013.
Uh,
I turn it on. I turn it on at 4-2 with about 3 minutes left to go, and I'm like, I turned it off within 3 seconds. It's like there's somebody who is a sadist at the NHL Network who
sure.
puts that friggin' game on every single time. I've seen it about 10 times on NHL Network. It makes you ill.
The league hates the Leafs and will demonstrate that deep-rooted hatred even when the league isn't operating. The conspiracy theory has spawned. Feed into it, guys.
Yeah, I don't see Nicky Borashevsky's goal in '93. I don't see Lanny McDonald's game in '78. No, it's gotta be Game 7 against the Bruins.
Okay, so I remember that playoff series like it was yesterday because there was like no playoffs for so many seasons prior to that, and then there were no playoffs for a ton of seasons after that. That was it. Right? But here's the thing about that game is that Nazem Kadri scores to make it 4-1. And what was there, 8 minutes left on the clock or something? And I'm going bananas. My wife's at work. My son is 1. My daughter's 3. They're sleeping. I'm trying to be quiet to not wake them up, right? Because, I mean, what am I going to do at that point? Tend to the kids or watch the rest of the game? That would be a tough dilemma for me to put myself into. So I was quiet. Well, I'm thinking to myself, they're going to win this game. This is it. They're going to go through. They're going to beat mighty Boston because Boston had won the Stanley Cup in 2011. And the way it unfolded after that was just so surreal. It was, you couldn't do anything, but you knew it was coming. And then they score in overtime to win it. And I don't think I said a word between then and the time we got down to Niagara Falls the next day, your neck of the woods, Mike. And I think you and I were even in talks, and you were talking me out of walking too close to the falls
right
in that moment. But I remember that like it was yesterday, that overtime goal, not saying a word. My wife came home. I was beyond distraught. We had to put the kids in the Hyundai Santa Fe 2013. Fast and peppy, not very good on gas. Drove all the way down there. Drove all the way down QEW. I didn't say a word, but I turned on the Fan 590 and I listened to that just to make myself hurt a little bit more, to teach myself a lesson that this effing team was not very good for me. It was a surreal time. I'll never forget it because there was no playoffs prior to that, no playoffs after that. That was our one shot. We were up 4-1, and it all fell apart.
Well, it's funny because I didn't watch the game. Like I said, I turned it off quickly because I know it by heart. But you look at that team, and they had no business getting up 4-1 in Game 7. I mean, Reimer in goal. Guys like Ryan O'Byrne on defense. I mean, you look at the lineup that was out there that Carlisle kept putting out there with a couple minutes because he couldn't trust any of the other lines defensively to go out there. So he kept putting out like Nikolai Kulemin, Jay McClement, James Van Riemsdyk, Carl Gunnarsson, and Dion Phaneuf. They had no business winning that series, but when you're up 4-1, even when you're not as good of a team as the other one, and look at how good and how deep and how talented the Bruins were, you had to put it away. And that's the thing that's painful about it. I mean, I look at the Leaf team now as opposed to that team 7 years ago, and I think this team is vastly more talented, at least offensively, and a better goaltender in Freddie Anderson. But I mean, we don't know what will lie ahead in terms of the playoffs because you don't know until that pressure is put on a team what can happen. But all I know is that team folded at the worst possible time, and we'll never forget it.
Mike, avoiding the fold requires will over skill, doesn't it? Right?
I think
yep. This Leafs team is skilled. That Leafs team that was up on the Bruins in the first period of Game 6, up 3-2 last season, had plenty of skill, but the will to close the door just wasn't there.
See, I see what you're saying. I in that Game 6, I think it's more because remember they took a 1-0 lead, and all the momentum was there. But that Boston team, I mean, you cannot get rid of that gravitas that Chara and Marchand and Bergeron and Krejci, that they have and Rask, that championship pedigree that, all that group was either starters or reserve players on that 2011 Stanley Cup team. There's nobody on the Leafs. No one. I mean, now they have, obviously, Tavares is a star player, but no one other than Jake Muzzin has a cup ring. So, I mean, that's something that that playoff experience is something that you gather over years and years. And this team, right now is currently constructed, doesn't have that. Hopefully they will over the next few years. Yeah. And that's what they're looking at as a 4 or 5 year window. But right now, that team that played last year didn't have a good enough defense, didn't get good enough goaltending at certain points, and didn't have the experience that the Bruins had.
So you can have skill, but not necessarily will. If you have the skill and then apply the will, you pay the bills. You love that. Eh? But it's true. The Leafs had the skill, but just not the will. Whereas the Bruins obviously had been down that road before and knew what it took to close the door. Jeez, what is going on? I felt like Dr. Seuss. But it's true. The Leafs up 3-2 in the series, up 1-0 on home ice, game 6. Close it. Finish it off. You've got the skill to do it, but there's something missing, right? And that's the thing. We're going to be rehashing a lot of the moments that have caused us to feel terrible about ourselves and the team that we love so much. And this is going to be a process as we venture into the days, weeks, and months ahead, because we don't have any contemporary hockey to talk about. The goal is to pass the time, do it adequately, and do it in an entertaining fashion. Maybe get a little bit of education out of it before life resumes all around us. It's going to be back. We have to stay hopeful of that. Mike, any last words before we check out and get this podcast together for the faithful?
Yeah, I'm hopeful based on the information out there. And right now, obviously everything is in flux. Everything we don't know when, the CDC is going to say it's okay to start, gathering of more than 10 people. I think right now everybody's just concerned with the spread of the virus. But right now, in terms of, and we're just focusing on hockey here, in terms of hockey, the news that came out yesterday that a group of players proposed a starting of the regular season and playoffs in August and September, finishing that, having the draft and having free agency in October, and then starting the next regular season in November. That may be where things go, but I think ideally the NHL is hoping that they can get the rest of this season, the playoffs, done probably in June. So right now, it's just wait and see.
OG's Converse, let us know what you think about the information Mike just passed along in community or below this post on YouTube. Let your friends know about what we're doing. They might need us. They might want to hear us. Share our content. And we certainly share in the concern that most people on this planet are feeling right now, and you do too. But we also share in the love of hockey and the hope for better days ahead. Mr. A, you're my brother. Thinking about you always. We'll talk soon, okay?